I don't know.
That's a good way to start.
That's great.
Here we are live on the Backpack Show where we don't even know what we're saying. Now, I was going to say that, one of the best things in the world is that we get to make a show where we get to ask people smarter than us really cool things. So we've got a show for it today, don't we?
That's how you start out. You have to come to it and say, I don't know something that you know, and I really want to. So tell me all about it. I never come to it and be like, I know everything about like food distribution in Pennsylvania. No, I don't. So I saw an article about Andrea Karns and how she's handled the pandemic. She's the VP of an independent grocery chain in Pennsylvania. I think they have 9 stores. And when businesses shut down there because of the pandemic, she found ways to enable small local businesses to create in-store like pop-ups so that they could continue to make some money, like say through Mother's Day. She helped the Girl Scouts continue to sell cookies through pop-ups. I love what she's done through the pandemic, not only to keep their shoppers safe at Karns Foods, but also to help other local businesses. We also have Jamie Margolin. She's an environmental activist. We're going to talk to her about her nonprofit, 0 Hour, and her book, Youth to Power Your Voice and How to Use It. We'll also talk with her a little bit about burnout and like trying to balance activism with school and work and all the other things you do.
So it's Martin Luther King Day, so I know a lot more people are home than normal. We should absolutely celebrate the works of Martin Luther King Jr., especially given the year that we just went through.
Yeah, and don't say happy birthday, MLK. Like,
yeah,
look at some of the things he said and think about them and applying them in your life.
And especially quite interesting because I just rewatched a speech that I'd seen a very long time ago, not I Have a Dream, where in which he, as he was talking, I was thinking this could have been given in 2020. Like, it's absolutely the same thing.
Yeah, which is both just depressing and, encouraging that his words still ring true, but depressing that they're still needed.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
Do you see Tim Kitzer wants to host with us?
Tim Kitzer said he would love to be our host.
Our third host. I would do that. Just because I would never have to speak on the show again. He would handle it. He was like,
he'd get it covered.
Fun. The voice of NBA Jam? Who wouldn't listen to that?
Wouldn't want him here. Hey, you know who doesn't love sausage? Johnsonville. Sponsor, believe it or not, Johnsonville sausage. Yes, still a sponsor. Email Kerry at chrisbrogan.com. We'll send you some Johnsonville sausage because we're getting ready to have another Johnsonville Appreciation Day because we can't believe they gave us money. That's why. Look at that.
And sausage strips. Don't forget the sausage strips.
They're the deliciousest. That's not even a word. All right. And look, we're sponsored by PubSite. You want to build a really cool website for authors? What if you had a book called Youth to Power and you needed to find a better way to promote it? You could build a quick website like nothing with PubSite. Pub-site.com. 2 hours. You'd be up and running. $20 a month. Woo!
Crazy easy. And there's a 14-day free trial.
14-day free trial.
So we'll get some.
Want to buy a website to make your own cool streaming show so you can run your own video show and be smarter than us all the time? See Brogan.me/StreamYard. You can make a show just like this one. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, there you go, StreamYard. We did some ads.
Karen Putz, deaf author, barefoot water skier. Papa Brogan, Coach Woodard. Everybody's turning out today. Bring on the sausage, says Karen. Monica's tuning in from Nashville, excited to kick off Monday morning with the Backpack Show and Andrea Karns. Andrea has fans. I am not surprised.
She has fans. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. All right.
And Mama Brogan. We have both the Brogans. I like that they don't sit side by side and watch together. Like they have their own devices.
I see we have my biological father and and his wife, my mother.
Weirdo. They're your parents.
They are my parents.
Let's talk to some smart people. I'm ready.
Let's talk to some smart.
I want to get smarter
people.
Now.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit the button. Jamie Margolin, you are up first. Margolin or Margolin? I've been saying both.
Margolin.
All right. You've saved me.
Okay.
Forgot to ask that one. I
asked it.
I just didn't listen.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of stuff just lately, including you wrote a book called Youth to Power. Books aren't easy to write. I'm an author, so I know. How'd you get that one done? That must have been some work to stay committed.
I wrote
to
it my junior year of high school, and / part of my senior year. And basically, the way that I wrote it was I was in the middle of taking climate action and doing all this stuff and organizing and activism and all the stuff that I do. And I was like, people were asking me like, how do I take action? How do I mobilize? And so I would just get all these questions of how to do the work that I'm doing. And eventually I was like, you know what, I'm just going to write a guide that will be really helpful for people. So I wrote Youth to Power, which is like an ultimate guide to being a young organizer for any cause. And it's called Youth to Power, but it actually works for adults and anyone of any age. It's basically, you want to be an activist or an organizer, take action on an issue. You don't know how. This book walks you through like every step of every type of activism and organizing, whether it be digital activism and organizing, how to organize an event, protest, write and publish an op-ed, and manage an organization, start an organization, and all of these different things. And it has a foreword by Greta Thunberg, and people, like I interviewed so many different people within
this is while you're in school, by the way.
Yeah, junior and senior year, I think you just
I wasn't
right?
doing anything worth writing a book about my junior year of high school.
What I was thinking is you seem like a slacker, because why didn't you write like 3 books?
That is so true. You're
unbelievable. You wrote you got it all done. You clearly have had a bit of energy around some of this for more than just the last couple of years. I want to know who you were when you were even littler.
When I was super little, so I've been an activist / organizer since I was 14. When I was super little, though, I wasn't. I really deeply cared about the environment and the world around me. I remember my dad would bring me to the beach, and I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, so it wasn't swimmable. It was more of like a look, don't touch kind of beach. And I would pick up the sea glass, and I would love looking at the water and the trees and the natural environment. I always like had a deep caring for it, even if I didn't know that it was at risk at the time. But when I learned about it, I was determined to do everything I could to protect it.
So when did that start, though? Actually, when you decided you wanted to do something, when did you start actually doing something, and how did you figure out kind of what to do?
So I decided I wanted to do something in 2nd grade, but I didn't actually.
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have figured it out.
Right. So I started to want to do something in 2nd grade, and then I actually did the thing when I was 14. So 9th grade is when I actually started, and I started through electoral politics and thinking that I could make a change that way. And then the 2016 election didn't work out, and then I started to do more organizing and issue-based activism. But in 2nd grade, I had my first attempt. It was so funny. I made these little pins. I was like green school, like green club or something pins, and I handed them out to students, and they're like, "What next?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then that was the end of that.
Great start, though. Right. One thing I noticed and I loved is when you held up your book, you said it's an ultimate guide. I liked that. I liked that because you allowed some space for there's others. There could be a thee out there somewhere, but it's an ultimate guide. I like that. Is that important in how you gather people up for projects like your 0 Hour project and beyond, that you leave space for other people to also be the boss and the winner in the
100%.
Okay. Talk about that for just a minute, about what it was like to put something together like 0 Hour, for instance.
Well, 0 Hour started the summer of 2017 after I had been doing community organizing in my city of Seattle for about a year, and I was not seeing any of the real change. And like my eyes were kind of being opened to more of the nuance of the situation. Like I used to think Democrat equals good. And every Democrat is automatically going to be great on this issue. But I realized that like, just because someone's a Democrat doesn't mean that they're a climate champion. And so I was struggling with all of these politicians that I thought were on my side. And then I realized, oh, that's just a talking point. You don't actually even know what climate action needs to be taken. And so I was, plus 45 pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accords, and all these things were happening. And there was Hurricane Maria, Hurricane Harvey, all of these horrible climate disasters were happening, and it just felt like the media wasn't even paying attention. And so I posted on social media that I was going to start a youth climate march. I asked who's with us. I got a response from a girl named Nadia Nazar from Baltimore, and she started organizing with me. And over the year, so I had a vision of like a youth climate march. This was before the school strikes and before like Greta Thunberg started striking and before Fridays for Future. And so big youth mass mobilizations weren't really like mainstream. And so that's basically what happened, is that we organized the march that we've always wished that we had. And so July of 2018, we had marches in Washington, D.C. and 25 cities around the world. And we had a lobby day on Capitol Hill where we met with 47 members of the Senate, including Bernie Sanders, which is really great meeting him for the first time then. And yeah, we've just been organizing, mobilizing, lobbying and stuff ever since. And yeah, I mean, with college, I'm not as, I'm not doing as much as in high school with the organization, but I'm really proud of everyone who has carried the torch. And I'm really proud of all the work that is being done.
Coach Woodard says, I love when young folks get involved as activists before they get demoralized as adults. I didn't even know lobbying was a thing when I was in high school, by the way. I was like, what? People just tell their congressmen what they need and they do it. Like, that's how naive I was. Do you have a mentor? Asks Kate Colgan.
Yes. My mentor, I mean, I have a few, but like my main mentor, her name is Natalie Mcbain. She used to be a lobbyist for Sierra Club, and now she's the policy director at 350.org. And she's like a wonderful friend and mentor to me. She's been in the environmental movement for about as long as I've been alive. And so she's just really incredible, both as a mentor in my environmental and politics work, and just as a human who I really care about and who cares about me.
I'm sure she appreciates it when you remind her that she's been in the activism longer than you've been alive. She's probably
she
like,
tells me that. She tells no. She's the one who tells me that, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I'm complaining about something and like, or like nervous about something, or like she's like, I've been in this for as long as you've been alive, so like listen up. She's the one reminding me. Okay, well that's acceptable then. Just do me a favor. Don't remind me like anything about what I was doing at your age, because it was nothing worth talking about. You've talked a lot about burnout as well. So while you're talking about doing your work for school, writing this book, interviewing people for it, continuing the work of activism, how do you keep everything balanced without burning out and just saying, forget it, I'm going to watch Netflix for like a week? I do forget it and watch Netflix for a week. That's how I finished the entirety of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power in like 5 days. And there's 5 seasons and each episode is like 30 minutes. So if you do the math, that's like 24 hours of television constantly to finish it. So I do get incredibly burnt out. I mean, I just rewatched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for the 3rd time on Netflix. I have been going through periods of burnout, and I realize that I've been burning out more quickly because of how heavy the world feels right now. Whereas before I could like send 500 emails, do like 10 calls and be like, okay, that was a day. Today I'm like, I sent a singular email. I'm so proud of myself, because it just feels like everything is harder now with quarantine, with the pandemic, with, I mean, seeing the white supremacist insurrection that happened on Capitol Hill. It's just the world. Obviously these problems always existed, but the world feels darker. And also I'm 19 now, which means I'm still very young, but I'm also not as like naive and like completely like, I have been a bit jaded already, I guess. Oh
no, you have a head start.
I have a head start. I mean, I guess the jading really started when I was like 18, and now I'm
mine
like,
started at birth.
There's a chip on my, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I guess, when I first jumped into the movement, I was like doe-eyed, right? Like, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to change everything. And now I have a more reserved and cautious optimism, and more, I see the bad that I used to not see in the world and just in everything. And so that's also made it easier to burn out that way, because I don't have that fuel of like naive optimism. I'm very like, I don't know. I've been run down. Yeah. I've experienced things, and so I'm just like, I'm a little less like as I used to be.
So one challenge that happens a lot, especially with climate activism, is that you kind of end up running against every particular capitalist who doesn't see their way to, I can also profit and still make the world better. Now, you could explain to them pretty easy, there's ways to it. It's just not the way you're doing it right now, but they're not open to it. They're not really ready to hear it. And on top of that, there's a problem that's been going on all of 2020, which kind of I'm curious to know your take on, which is there's so many things going on at the same time. There's George Floyd, really rekindles Black Lives Matter. Breonna Taylor, a bunch of other names really rekindle Black Lives Matter. At the same time, there's lots of rights being stripped from LGBTQIA people, and climate, and all these other things, and just baseline political fighting between the two primary groups. It's awful hard to get your message to stick in that environment. Has 2020 been hard for you in that way? And what are you doing about that?
2020 has been very difficult, and now 2021 is also difficult. I think, I'm doing the best I can with the digital tools that I have, but at some point, you're just not going to, 2019, I think, was the peak of the mainstream paying attention to climate action. I was on actual MSNBC, CNN, mainstream publications and media, and in the New York Times, and things that people were listening to me, especially after my congressional testimony and the message that I was saying a lot that year, because that was climate action was in the news, especially in the fall of 2019. But then after that, everything that happened in 2020 and stuff, even really important climate news, it's buried because of the pandemic, because of everything that's happening. And I feel like the media should take the time to cover both things. It's not that hard to also talk about the climate crisis, but I understand the way the news cycles are, that just hasn't been happening. And so 2020 has been very... Hey! Oh, that's my mom. 2020 has been... 2020 has been difficult, and then 2021 has also proven to be difficult too.
I don't think anybody expected a switch to flip and everything would be better in 2020. There definitely was this, 2020's over, and that really didn't last for me beyond New Year's Eve. So
no, I mean, a new year is great because it doesn't exist yet, and so no mistakes have happened in it because it's not real. And then the minute it's real, it's well, it's still a pandemic, everyone's dying, and white supremacy is still a thing. So
Coach Woodard's asking, what are you studying in college and how does it inform your activism?
I'm studying film and television in college. It's something separate from my climate activism, because that's another way that I try to avoid burnout and preserve my sanity, is to have an identity outside of girl trying to stop climate crisis, because that's not what anyone thinks about and dreams about when they're growing, as a little girl, I hope to stand up against a massive crisis. I don't know. So, I mean, it's good to have a dream outside of that. And so I really love storytelling and screenwriting and directing and acting and creative things. And so going to film school and having an outlet for that creativity is incredibly important for me.
And binging She-Ra, Princess of Power, because that's important material. You can't skip that.
It's actually a very good show. I would encourage people to watch it.
It's one of those secret shows.
That's what she does for fun, Esther. She watches She-Ra, Princesses of Power.
It's a secret show, though, like Steven Universe or a few others that people don't know actually has so much message in it. And they just think, oh, it's a cartoon for the kiddos.
It's very deep. It's very good.
Did you ever see the original? The original was so heavy-handed to be here's the moral of the story. It's
also the new version is very queer, so I enjoy that.
Super queer. There's a lot of cool stuff in there.
So yeah, it's amazing. Everyone should go watch that. I have no reason to promote it other than I really enjoy it.
You like it?
I love it. Well, because we also have to kind of remember that you're also a 19-year-old person who is actually hoping to have a whole life and relationships and people and animals, maybe, and who knows. So it's a great
as opposed to us at the end of our life.
Yeah, ready to die. Ready to die. That's me. Jamie Margolin, thank you so much for being on today. Stick around if you can. We have a little panel near the end, but get yourself a beverage. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Well, we can see you backstage. We can't hear you, but we can see you. So.
We can see you, but we can't hear. We're grabbing Andrea Karns right now. Andrea, hi. How are you?
Good. Hi.
Yeah, thanks for joining today.
Glad to drag you into this fray. So excited that you were here to be able to talk a little bit about what's been going on for you. Kerry found this story and we were immediately like, oh, yes, please. This sounds like something we need to talk about.
So many businesses felt paralyzed. There's nothing we can do. The shutdown's going to kill us. And nobody was thinking of ways to help. And here you were in the midst of a pandemic with a grocery chain to run, trying to keep the food supply going. And you still thought of ways to help local businesses stay afloat.
Yeah. I mean, it's been crazy, and you're right. We were very fortunate that we've been open throughout the pandemic, so it's presented opportunities and challenges and ways to work with our community.
When did you start thinking about that? Like, I know a lot of people were still very tied up with just trying to keep their own stores open. Like, how were you able to focus on helping others in the community as well? Is that just part of the fabric of Karns Foods, or is that you? Like, what brought you around to thinking about how to help other businesses as well?
And how did you decide that you were going to make that like pop-ups in the store? I don't think we mentioned the pop-up in the store thing. I don't think we actually explained how she did it. But you brought other businesses.
I don't know if I know how she did it, so that's why we're going to ask her.
All right. Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in this area, in the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area, with my family business. So the businesses that I went to as a high schooler, or with my parents as a kid, to work with them to find ways to continue to partner and have them have economics, have money brought into their stores, have money brought into their pockets so they can pay their mortgage, pay their electric bill, continue throughout the pandemic. That was a priority. We're neighbors, we're friends. So just kind of working together and doing the best we can. So it happened very, very organically. We worked with some businesses as far as having a pop-up in our grocery store for around Mother's Day with a local neighborhood coffee shop that sold, candles and mugs and some specialty items, to working with different charities that lost their opportunity to create their annual fundraising events. Just kind of saying, okay, we're open. What can we do? How can we help?
That's what I think I love about it, is the idea that you're open as an essential business. Mm-hmm. And a lot of businesses would be like, well, that's about what I've got. I'll manage to keep my own business going. But other businesses that weren't able to stay open because they sell specialty items that aren't essential, mm-hmm. you found a way to help them, especially like on Mother's Day. Maybe talk about what you did for Mother's Day. Because like nobody thought I really need dried flowers. That's like essential. But, Mother's Day sure does suck when you can't have anything special for mom.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm a mom. So I'm like, what am I going to get for Mother's Day? I didn't need some canned soup from my own store. So we found a way to bring some gifts into our stores from another local shop. So I worked with the owners. I contacted them and said, hey, we're open. What are your thoughts? Can you work together? You want to set up a designated area and have a pop-up shop? We'll run everything through our registers. We'll cut you a check for 100% of what you sell. And, hopefully make some moms happy. And the community loved it. They were happy. They were supportive. They shopped the pop-up shop, and it was a great partnership. It was a win-win. So
the prices are amazing. I just keep saying that. I just keep thinking, I wish I could shop here.
Karns Foods does not sponsor us, but you're just genuinely impressed.
Andrea's done like all this really important stuff, and I'm literally just going through this like, really? Like I was looking at your meat order, whatever you call those, the meat bundles.
Oh, the meat bundles.
Like, $70 you get that much meat? That's insane. So I'm sorry. I'm not even like some local TV guy trying to like wow and zazz people. I'm just literally like, these are great prices.
Like, thank you for helping local businesses, and also, wow, look at these prices.
And you make sausage there too. You have 6 different types of sausage made with your in-store butchers.
You're such a dork.
We have more than 6 types.
Oh, sorry. There were 6 on the little website.
Yes, those are every day available. When you go into each store, you'll find maybe a couple of fringe flavors that sell better in different locations.
Gary Stockton really likes your website. But he also likes your. Diane says, "Wait till you hear our sausage story." That's Chris's mom. I don't even know. Anne says, "Love that Andrea Karns reached out to small businesses and didn't wait to be approached." I love that too. That's actually why I asked her. That's why I asked.
I had, the whole thing about taking, delivery to the curb changes the model so much. Mm-hmm. And I've been talking to people about that. And one of the thoughts that we've had is that the way grocery stores are set up, I mean, it really hasn't changed a great deal in a lot of years. I mean, there's little things that change, but, end caps are end capped, and people pay for the right shelf space and the right height. And you don't know that. People don't know that there's like a scale of what one pays. Well, that all is out the window in the delivery. Did that change how you had to have your conversations with your vendors and distributors and all that?
Not now, yes. But early on in the pandemic, the conversation was really like, what do you have and how can we get it and how quickly can we get it? So it's much less a question of a display space and making sure, we have secondary displays. It was contacting our partners and just really taking inventory of what they have in their warehouse, what the ship dates were, and how quickly we could get it onto the store floor. It was like no other time in the grocery business that I've ever experienced.
Nutty how that works.
You were an employee of the stores and everything when you were a teenager, like in high school, but then you went away and I think spent some time in the nonprofit sector before returning. Do you think that that's changed the way you approach the business? Like, would another executive at a different food chain approach it differently than someone who maybe didn't have any nonprofit experience?
I think so much of it comes from my dad. My dad's my boss. He's been my boss for years, and he's a great mentor and role model, where he's always lent a hand when he could. If there was an opportunity or if someone contacted him, it's always been very community focused, partnership focused. So, when I brought it to him and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this?" He was like, "Sure, if you can find a way to make it happen, make a go of it." But I would say that's more of a culture item and really a family item, and that we put forward as a priority.
Chip says, after looking at the Karns website, we know the answer to the famous question, "Where's the beef?"
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
It's there and it's incredibly affordable. It's still there. It's tricky working with families and a family business like that. And there's a couple of different ways that tends to work out in retail and especially in grocery, which is either you're the prodigal and you go away and you learn all the knowledge so you can school up the whole family and make it work, or you're ignored and you're like, "Oh, you don't know anything. I've been doing this since 1964. And like all your ideas are pushed away for wax pen. Sounds like you have the kind of A relationship, not the B relationship, but it doesn't mean it's always easy. What's the secret to navigating a good family business?
Forgetting what happens at work when you're at home. That would be what I would say. My dad, my grandfather started it, and then my uncle works there, my sister, my cousin. And there's definitely been times where we definitely, butt heads, have difference of opinions, maybe say things that cross a line. But you just have to go home, and if you're sitting around the table, and Thanksgiving any other year, but this year, because there was no Thanksgiving table this year, you just have to leave it at the office and recognize that you got to move on, and there's family and there's business, and you got to protect both, and sometimes that means forgetting what happened the day before. But don't get me wrong, I've definitely heard a few times where my idea did not pan out. So although my dad encourages it, he'll also be like, "Told you so."
Oh, dear. Oh, Chip is just going in the comments, Chris. He thinks you should be the new Karns spokesperson and just shout, "That's a lot of meat."
Yeah. One of those cartoony looking guys that just has that one line forever until he's dead.
That'll be you.
Andrea, you are also, and Kerry pointed this out to me as well, you're one of the only women doing this in the grocery industry, the independent grocery world. So why is it such a man's world still in grocery? And what's it like for you to be the lady at the table?
Yeah, the grocery industry, it's not an easy industry. You're on the floor, you're building displays, you're in the freezers at times, in the dairy coolers. It doesn't matter if you're vice president of marketing. You're still doing the work. You're bagging groceries around the holidays. You're getting carts. So there's definitely that physicality of it. And I think in previous decades, it just naturally lent itself more towards that was man's work. But luckily, more and more women are entering the industry. They are moving up as store directors or corporate positions. But there's been some challenges. There's been moments where I've sat at the table and I've been ignored, or where you had to speak a little bit louder or say things a little bit stronger, and just accept that some folks takes a little bit longer, but I feel confident in my role. I feel confident in my knowledge, which allows me to look the other way sometimes when maybe there's not always the level of acceptance that perhaps if I were a male, I would get.
It's interesting when you said about the physicality, because it is different than a lot of other roles where, like you said, you might be out there grabbing the carts, and it's not, I've done it. It's not easy. It's not fun. No one likes it, especially when it's raining. And you certainly don't feel super much like a marketer when you're out there pushing the cart.
It's not glamorous work.
No,
it's work.
It's really not glamorous.
But you're setting an example. That's good. Yeah.
I saw that a lot, by the way. I'm sorry, Kerry. You go ahead and ask.
No, that's cool, dude. You go ahead. Everybody needs another question from a middle-aged white man right now. It's cool. I'll just have my tea.
You kill
I was
me.
actually just going to ask how you create an environment where people feel empowered to speak up as part of the team, whether they're women or maybe they have an accent or immigrant. Like, how do you make sure that everyone on the team feels empowered to help you innovate?
Gosh, I certainly hope that my team members feel that way. I do work to be accessible. I guess that would be the biggest thing, whether it's an email or a phone call or when I'm at the store, to take those pauses, to ask the question, to maybe I'll try something at the store and to from top to bottom say like, hey, how do you think that worked? Did that work well? And if someone gives negative feedback, that's okay. That I actually want that negative feedback. So just to keep that conversation open, keep that door open, and be accessible. That's about the biggest thing I can say is to have the lines of communication there, truly there, not just saying it.
Not to say, sure, tell me whatever, and then you're in trouble after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, you had a question.
Probably not. One thing I was thinking about when I was looking at the site, I really can't tell you how long I've been looking at this website. One thing I was thinking about is how there's just so much you can't do when it comes to a retail grocery store site. You can't make this look like anything but this. It has to look like a flyer. And when you wiggle over things, by the way, look, you can add to your list. You can clip a coupon. Little coupon-y things. But it's important. But one of the things I was thinking about was food merchandising really hasn't changed, except in one place that I can think of. And I'm curious to know if your store does this as well. There's the made for you kind of food. I don't know what you call it. It's called something different everywhere. But, right over by the butcher counter, there's always like a whole lot of hot food I can take home and things you would never have imagined that you could buy, like mashed potatoes in a package. Is that a trend at Karns as well? And also, what if any, trends do you see yourself having to embrace heading into 2021?
Yeah, so home meal replacements, that's what we call it, where you're bringing it home, you're throwing it in the oven, maybe throwing it on the grill, but we're taking out that prep work for you. So you get to feel like you have your home cooked meal, like you get to take credit for it, you pull it out of the oven before you sit on the table, but at the end of the day, you really did very, very little to make that meal happen. So we certainly do a lot of that, and it continues to grow. 2021, looking at food trends, 2020 was crazy. We saw a lot of different items take place, and we saw old become new again. Canning was huge. First of all, people were at home, they did their gardens. All of a sudden, they're like, what am I going to do with all these cucumbers? I need to start pickling. I need to store everything. And we expect to see that continue forward. We've also seen a big increase in seafood sales. Seafood's one of those items that folks have out at restaurants. It's that special occasion meal that you order at restaurants. But people aren't going to restaurants quite as much right now. So they are shifting to actually trying to cook it at home, which, seafood's incredibly easy to cook. And I think once folks get that handle on it, they have that confidence level, they're able to enjoy it. So just bringing flavors into the plate as well. Some different ethnic flavors, different spices to keep their meals interesting. Folks are starting to get a little bored of the same old.
How many stores do you have now? Is it 9? I wanted to say
that. We have 9 locations in the central Pennsylvania area outside of Harrisburg. So
Chris is going to go to every single one.
I'll take you on a tour. You let me know.
I'd have a blast. I really would.
Kate wants to know, are you able to donate food to food pantries still?
Yeah, so that has still been a big priority for us. We just got done with our annual winter food drive. I think we donated around $90,000 worth of food in a one month period. Throughout the summer, we worked with a number of organizations that otherwise wouldn't have had otherwise were shorted on items. They were not having their annual events. So like diaper drives we participated in, we donated diapers, a number of food pantry organizations for the food insecure, but we'll continue doing that throughout the year. It's always been a top priority, but certainly right now where there's just so much insecurity and unknown, that will remain as a key point for us.
One thing I was wondering about is that, you're a history of and known for your meats, but the world's getting a lot more plant-based. Are you bringing that in? How is that going? Or is that something that your area doesn't care so much about so far?
Yeah, you have to have it. 100% you have to have the various meat substitutions. And we've had it for years. It's still a smaller part. Central Pennsylvania, we're a pretty meat and potatoes community. We like our roasts, we like our steaks. But certainly having the burgers and the meat alternatives, we have them. Folks buy them, they like them. You have to be aware of the fact that you're right, 100%. We're seeing that trend take place. More and more folks are looking for different alternatives. I think that they're looking for it as an addition, not necessarily as a full replacement.
Right.
So to kind of figure out what does that look like for our locations, what does that look like for our shopper? But yeah, definitely have it and keep growing that category.
Chris can hook you up with some mushroom jerky if you decide you want.
Seth Goldman, who is the co-founder of Honest Tea, who then went on to be the chairman of Beyond Burger, he has a company called Eat the Change, and their latest thing is mushroom jerky.
Okay.
And it's not nearly as gross as you might think it is.
It says you. Gary has a really long comment, and I want to display it, but it might cover you a little bit, Andrea.
Mike Wazowski, you ready?
In advance. Okay, no, it's not too bad. There's a grocery chain in Texas who has their own helicopters and logistics, and during the hurricane, they flew truckers around to the disaster to their rigs so deliveries could happen. Nice. Doesn't everybody have a helicopter in Texas?
It really is all about logistics when it comes down to it in some places. I mean, when everything's working great, that's not a big deal, but logistics is kind of a nutty experience.
Asking if there's vegetarians in Pennsylvania. Yes, of course there's.
Yeah, there's like at least 7 of them or something. No, I've spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and there's not a single vegetarian person in that entire city. So
that's probably not true.
Middle of the state, I was wondering because there's some farmland. There could be a plant eater out there. All right, we're going to grab Jamie Margolin back in as well, and we're going to ask a couple questions before we roll back out. Hey, Jamie, welcome back.
Hi.
What is your
side? They were in the green room, so.
Oh yeah, thank you, Jamie. What is your quarantine comfort food of choice?
I'd say ice cream. I've been having a lot of it. It's also like, sometimes the thing that if I have an outing, that is usually what that outing is for.
A lot of ice cream socials in your world?
Not even social, just like going to the place, purchasing it, eating it, consuming it.
Oh, you're saying you go out somewhere. That's the thing you would be.
No. I'm not socializing. I just go to the place where you purchase said item and
run. Got it. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In your spacesuit. I'm totally with it. Andrea, similar question. Comfort foods seem to have made a massive comeback. Is that what you see over at the stores as well?
Oh yeah, as far as people having pot roasts and making pasta dinners, definitely rotisserie chicken, all those items that make you feel safe, make you feel comforted at home. Definitely see that.
I can imagine. What's that?
Wants to know if the next generation's getting involved in Karns Foods.
Oh.
Well, hopefully. I asked my daughter, but she's 4.5, so.
Yeah, see, that's the only reason I had kids, so they could do stuff for me.
That was the original purpose of you have many kids so they could
run your business. Or go out and harvest stuff. I get it.
Harvest.
Well, Jamie, if that were the case still, what business would you have had to go into? What do the folks do that you'd have to do?
I mean, I don't think what my parents do existed back in those times, but I guess if we go back to what my grandma did when she was younger, my family is, my mom's side is from Colombia. I mean, my grandma lived on a sustainable, farm, but it wasn't even meant to be. It's not like a modern sustainable farm. It was just that's how it naturally was. So I don't know. I'd probably be helping out with the coffee plants.
Nice. Colombia is beautiful. I've been to Bogota twice, and
that's where my family's from, Bogota.
Oh, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Quite a place to visit if when the world reopens, I guess, for people who haven't gone. What else do we have? With regards to plans for 2021, knowing that everything is so crazy, what parts are you planning? What parts are you leaving off the hook? Andrea, I'll start with you.
For
just in general, the store and everything, how penned is 2021 versus how pencily is 2021 for you?
Yeah, no, it's very pencily. My calendar in my office still unfortunately reflects March 2020, just because everything got thrown out the window and I never switched it over. Why write anything down? It was just going to change. But I'm hopeful for 2021 that maybe we get a little taste of normal life. Maybe you can go on vacation somewhere sometime, possibly. But
well, then that's a question. Let's imagine that Jamie gets a chance to take a vacation. Where would it be?
I want to go back to visit my family in Colombia. I haven't seen them since I was 11. And I haven't been to Colombia since I was 11. So the minute it's safe to, I'm spending some months in my family's home country. I gotta go. That's like the second I can go, boom, on a plane to Colombia immediately.
I feel like Chip just said it best.
It's March 287, 2020.
yeah, that makes sense.
So true.
It feels like that for sure. All right. Well, we have two more things to do before we get out of here. One is we have to decide the person of the day. Where did I keep?
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I always want to give it to Coach Woodard just to be funny.
Coach Woodard got it so many times. He was like, please take me out of contention. This is embarrassing.
He can't be it anymore. So I'm going to give it to Gary because Gary's been pretty active today. And Gary's out in California, so he's on Jamie's hours. So he got up early to watch Jamie and Andrea today.
He thinks the grocery store workers should get priority for vaccines.
Yes, I agree. Gary's a smart man.
No question. Worker. I was a packaging engineer for a while, and then I made my way all the way up to the register. So it was loved my time in grocery stores. Star Market back in the day.
Nice. Well, in Boston, they call it Star Market.
Star Market. But, anywhere else, it would have been Star Market.
It's true.
So, time to do the backpack question. This is the question of what goes in your backpack. It could be something physical. It could be something metaphorical. We've had incredible answers in the past. Kerry, what are a few great things that could go into the backpack?
Extra set of teeth. DJ Cumberbund.
That's your new favorite one.
No, that's my new favorite. I still like fearlessness and vulnerability. That was Dave Landau, comedian Dave Landau.
He picked a really good one. My favorite is an avocado from Saida Trujillo from Clowns Without Borders. And then who just said one? Who said fear? Like who said they should put fear in the backpack? Did someone say that? I need to be a guest so I could put fear in the backpack. That's
we need that spreadsheet that Kate keeps saying we should.
That Kate says we should make a sheet. I have a guy that I might pay to do that because I'm not doing it. Andrea, what goes in the backpack, either physical or metaphorical?
Yeah, I'm going to go physical on this one. I'm in the food industry. I believe food can make bridges, so if you're on the backpack, whether you're on a train or on a trail, having some food, and I'll go central Pennsylvania food with either Hershey chocolate bar or Utz potato chips. That's the way to make friends and make connections. So it will get you the job done if you need a hand.
I don't want to say that I've ever done this before, but if you do both at the same time, it's pretty darn good too. You stick a little mouthful of potato chips and then a little piece of Hershey's in there, and that's okay. All right, your turn, Jamie. What goes in the backpack?
I guess I'm feeling kind of metaphysical today, so I just say, I don't know. Okay, this is very specific, but in Finding Nemo when Dory was like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Whatever that mentality is, her or Dory saying that goes in the backpack. Though it would have to be full of water, and I feel kind of
that's a good one.
Just like that's been the mood of like my existence since like 2020 began and onward. So much has happened in the world and in life that I'm just like, just keep swimming. I feel like that just going forward is really important.
We can have chips, a chocolate bar, and we can swim. This is a pretty bad idea for backpacks. Yep.
Yes to chocolate. Apparently that's popular. Food can make bridges. Oh, chips starting to fight. Cape Cod potato chips are better than us. I grew up on Cape Cod, so I should agree.
But they're very different chips, though. Cape Cod is a very stout kind of a chip. It's a kettle chip. It's a very thick chip. Utz are meant to be ephemeral, crunchy, crispy.
You're really reaching. You just really want to get in good with Andrea so you can tour.
I do. I want to go buy all those meat deals. This is insane.
Coach Woodard says perseverance. That's what Just Keep Swimming is.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to keep going.
Well, I can tell you that every Lenten season, for those of you who celebrate Lent, every Lenten season, my Grammy gave up potato chips. That was because she loved them so much that she would give up potato chips. But One thing with regards to Dory and Finding Nemo that she said one time,